All right. Well, hey, welcome to our first ever live show and the first ever show under our new name. I felt very stupid going on to other names saying that the name of my podcast was Josh Loves This. So, and I felt very narcissistic that was the name of my show. So I've changed it to Super Secret HQ, and I've changed my Twitter handle to Super Secret Josh. As you can see, I'm really excited about tonight. It is the first ever live show for all 2 of my subscribers on YouTube. And I'm sure people will watch this again later and listen to this again later. But I'm really excited because the best part of this is being able to hang out with some of my pals. We've got a great show tonight. We're going to be talking about the Titans Season 3 premiere. Plus, we're also going to be discussing, does the Suicide Squad have bad BO? And whatever else comes up in the course of this broadcast. And now I'm going to bring in my pals. I'm going to start with the one and only co-host of Straight Out of Gotham. Eric is joining us on the show. Eric, welcome. Final 33. Finale 33.
It's okay. What's going on, Josh? Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this. I review Titans for Batman on Film, so my article's up now. If you guys read Batman on Film, go over there and check it out. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I am honored to be one of the first guests on your first live stream. So thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure to have you. And speaking of people who it's a pleasure to have, he is one of 3 of the Vigilante 1939 podcast. Who am I going to pick? I've got 2 of them. I'm going to go with, you have to honor because, he does have a godly name. The one and only Nick Zednick.
I knew it.
A.K.A. Zeddy is.
Euxis.
Yes.
Euxis.
There you go.
Well,
what's up, guys?
Welcome to the show, my friends. It's so good to have you with us. Speaking of dudes from the Vigilante 1939 podcast, I have the other, not the other Nick. Technically, he is another Nick, but he's we call him Nico Caruso.
Gentlemen,
I
had to follow Zeddy. I can't lead. It's got to be Zeddy. He's got to go first. I love it. I'm not as legendary as him, but I try. Josh, happy to be here. Just like Eric said, I'm honored to be one of your first guests on a live stream. And I'm also ready to talk some Titans. Now, if Eric is going to plug his review, so will I. I review Titans for www.letsgopodcast.com. You can go find it there for my thoughts. But you're going to hear them tonight. So Happy to be here. Thrilled to be here with you, pals. You guys are the best people I know in this community. So can't wait to hang out.
Awesome. And then for now, the best for last, of course. I recently joined him on a fantastic discussion about Aquaman. We have similar secret origins. He is the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. J.J. Hodges of the 4 Comics Junkies podcast.
Yeah, hey,
JJ, welcome to the show.
Yeah, I gotta do this stupid live show, but I'll be sure to join you later. And don't worry, I didn't forget about putting my finger.
JJ,
hey, hi guys. Hey, I wasn't doing nothing. What's up?
Was that Candace Patton on the line? Who is that?
I wish.
All right, and we also have another member of the Let's Go Comics family online. So, JJ, I'm sorry you weren't best for last.
Right.
We have the one and only Mr. Chris Evans.
Hey, how's it going?
Chris.
There he is.
That's me. How's it going, guys?
Coach Beard.
Chris, thank you for joining the show. It looks like my signal is a little shaky, guys, so we'll roll with this, see how we go. Apologies about that, but it is what it is. We'll work through it. So first topic of the night, we're going to do one of my favorite segments of the show, Into the Twitterverse.
Love it.
This segment, as a reminder, is a segment where we discuss discourse going on right now on the hell site known as twitter.com. And
yeah.
one of the topics that is going around is we have a slew of box office prognosticators going off, as it were, on James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, saying that the box office is really bad, as if it were the normal sort of times where we would do something like this. So, Zeddy, I've got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the normal times? Is James Gunn's The Suicide Squad done for? Or what was the term that we heard this weekend? I don't remember it. It doesn't matter. It was stupid. But but the point was they said that this film was done. What do you think, Zeddy?
I don't think this film was done. I don't even think it was doomed. I think, the Delta variant is a real thing. I don't know. Twitter knows that it is an actual real thing. It is happening in real time. If Warner Brothers was worried about the Suicide Squad at all, they would have delayed it in the next year. They were confident enough in this film. They needed it to come out. I think they wanted it to come out. Because quite frankly, Wonder Woman 84 to me didn't exactly hit the way that I know Warner Brothers had hoped it would. Now, granted, it might have been that light at the end of the tunnel in 2020 that I think we all kind of needed. But, this year, I think Warner Brothers could not afford for the Suicide Squad to come out next year, because then that puts even more pressure than the Batman already has. And I think with the way that this movie was already critically well received well before it even came out, Warner Brothers knew they had a hit. And why would you sit on a hit if you know you have one? So I think right now, box office, throw it out the window. Does not matter. I don't even think it matters until the back half of 2022. That's how far I think we're reaching. It's not going to be the normal box office that we've seen in quite a long time. So I see this as a win. I am hoping a lot more people do. And I'm definitely more confident in Warner Brothers' future. But no, it's not. It's not a failure. It did not flop. I don't care what anybody says. I think it did exactly what Warner Brothers needed it to do.
Yeah, that's right. Eric, what do we think about this this situation and this industry? There's a whole journalistic industry surrounded around box office analysis. Do you think that this is a genuine phenomenon that the Suicide Squad is struggling so much, or is it a matter of the journalistic appetites being starved for the last year and a half? What do you think? I mean, feel free to respond freely. I know that was a very leading question.
No, it's I think it's a combination of a lot of things. Obviously these guys have a job to do, right? And they've been doing it for a long time. In normal times where, films have projections, they know the projections going in, and then if they don't hit them, they're automatically going to say, well, the movie didn't do as well. I know Warner Brothers had about between a 30 and 35 million, even with the pandemic adjustment that they thought for this. I think it hit about 26, 27 for the opening weekend. If you factor in HBO Max angle and obviously the pandemic and everything else going on, I think it's okay. But these guys, again, they have a job to do, and let's be honest, controversy brings clicks, right? Controversy brings people clicking on articles. So I think
especially when it comes to the DCEU, especially.
Yep. That's a good point as well. Yes, this seems to be a universe that is very is critiqued at a different level. I don't want to say they're trying to do, looking at it too much with the microscope, but I do think obviously when they always get compared to Marvel, and Marvel has built in this benefit of the doubt. So even when a film comes out that I might not think is good, I feel like it always gets looked at in a better light than a similar DC film would. Case in point, like here we have the Suicide Squad, which I loved and adored. I saw it in an early screener. It was great. But then we had, if you look at Guardians 2, which James Gunn did for Marvel, I didn't like that movie, but it got received very well. So I think that does exist, and I think these box office guys do look at those kinds of things a little bit differently. But again, Marvel has delivered on that so much that they have a built-in benefit of the doubt, I think, and it's earned. They earned it. So
totally. And I will note on that point that Marvel Studios has a film releasing in 3 weeks that is being projected to open between $30 and $50 million.
That's a big
and it doesn't have a spontaneous release on VOD. So this is a Hollywood struggle, I think, not just the Suicide struggle. Nico Caruso, I see you chomping at the bits to get in and have a say. I have a question for you. Do you think James Gunn? Well, first of all, I want to ask you: do people hate Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn? And secondly, does James Gunn and the sort of kind of movie The Suicide Squad is have a future in the DC multiverse now as we know it?
So, no, and then yes. So I don't think people hate Margot's Harley Quinn. I think, and we talked a lot about this on the last Vigilante. My dad brought this up, and then Zeddy echoed it last night on Let's Go Live, is they've made her rated R twice, which I don't think audiences hate her, but I think a big part of her audience can't see her. I think using her as this rated R thing, trying to be like the DCEU Deadpool, was an idea. And then with Birds of Prey, that didn't make the money. Granted, COVID was starting. I'm still in that minority that says I think people are already getting spooked. But the Suicide Squad's so great. But once again, it's that rated R thing. I don't think people hate her. I just think her audience can't be there. She doesn't have the same opportunity as Larson did, as Gal did, as Leslie Grace is going to have on streaming. So I think that's a big piece of it. I absolutely do think James Gunn has a future because I think they're so happy with how things went critically. And I do think the studios are realizing the time of year and the unfortunate situation with the box office. Because I believe this movie was like the perfect example of like getting the worst luck. Because you had a lot of success with Quiet Place Part 2 and Conjuring, and Eric talked about the built-in brand that the Marvel films have. I think what these bloggers aren't doing, that maybe we are, is realizing I've already made up in my mind these DC movies are not going to make what the Marvel ones do, even in a good year. I mean, maybe if the Batman was coming out in a normal year, maybe if Justice League was received better and there's a sequel coming out, but you saw with Shazam, you saw with Birds of Prey that very critically well received, no one went to see them on the same scale that people see an Ant-Man film that makes 500 and an Ant-Man sequel that makes over $600 million. It's mind-blowing to me that people won't come out for a 94 on Rotten Tomatoes Shazam and a 92 on Rotten Tomatoes Suicide Squad. It's just, there's something with the accessibility, but I think he has a future, but I don't think they're going to be quick to let it be rated R all the time, because the rated R, I think they got fooled by Joker, because Joker made $1 billion for, in my opinion, Pete, I love you. Just threw off my whole thing. Joker made $1 billion for a lot of different reasons, and then I think movies like Birds of Prey and Suicide Squad weren't making money because that restriction was there. So the long-winded answer is no, I don't think people hate Margot. I think she just hasn't been able to be seen by the crowd that would lift her up. And I think James Gunn has a future because I think they're so happy. I knew that. That's kind of the look I went for, Garrett. But late on a Monday night, I know you would know. That's why I like it coming from you. We're in the Midwest, so I respect that. Shout out to the Vikings. Go Bears. Yeah, Josh. That's all. I can't keep going.
Sorry, man. I had to do it.
No, man, you're good. I was rambling anyway. I love this.
To do it.
This is why I'm here for this type of experience.
JJ, I feel like you would have some insight into this question as well. First, do audiences hate Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn? And secondly, I'm going to throw this question to you as well. Do you think James Gunn's kind of style of filmmaking has a future in the DCEU?
I definitely agree with Nico, who's changed his hat 17 times since we've started. No, I don't think audiences hate Margot Robbie. There's a reason that the Suicide Squad, the first one, I mean, the original one, just Suicide Squad, I should say, um, has made that movie made what, 700, 800 million dollars. Like, she was it same way with Batman v Superman with Ben Affleck as Batman. She was the people were like, oh, this movie's garbage, but Margot Robbie is great. You know what I mean? Like, so I think audiences responded to her, but I do agree that maybe the R rating is, keeping people away. So I don't think it's her at all. I think she's doing a fantastic job, and I think Harley Quinn is a very popular character, as shown by the DC animated Harley Quinn show, and I think she's killing it as the character. But as far as James Gunn goes, like, no, I don't think so, because I think that what was selling the Guardians movies was James Gunn, because who did you have in that movie? You had Chris Pratt, the lovable idiot from Parks and Rec, and Vin Diesel and Bradley Cooper, who were just voiceover roles. And Vin Diesel got paid a lot of money just to say 3 words the entire damn movie. For, 3 movies now, 4 movies now. Garrett, chill. All right, we're talking. JK, LOL, we love you.
I'm controlling the comments, so.
But no, I think this movie demanded a weirder version, because Warner Brothers wanted this from the get-go. That's why their first Suicide Squad was edited the way it was, because they were like, oh, we got to make our movies more like their movies, and then not realizing that David Ayer is not James Gunn. So if they bring in James Gunn, he's going to make a James Gunn movie, and they're like, oh, this is the movie we wanted in the first place. And I think Warner Brothers has always responded more to the critical success more than the commercial success to begin with. So, being a filmmaker-driven studio. So, look at Batman Begins. That movie did not make a lot of money, but they were still like, oh, this guy has a vision and he's kicking butt. Let's keep him on the payroll, until recently, of course. But now it's like, no, I don't think he's too weird. I think he's just, for the project he was hired for, it was perfect.
I 100% agree. Last question on this topic, and then we'll do a round robin of a yes or no question.
Yes,
but
sorry, I jumped the gun.
Not yet. Chris Evans, you are known for, I think,
Being Captain America,
erudite, well thought out responses. So I want to ask you, if you're on the same page as I think all of us are, what do you think that box office prognosticators, for lack of a better term, people who analyze box office for a living, what do you think that they can do in the meantime to not be complete and total, just
themselves,
mean-spirited people? What do you think that they can do? What do you think they can do better?
Well, it's complicated right now because this is a time that we're not familiar with. This is new to everybody, and this is new to the box office and theaters and just how things work. I think what they can do is look at the way things are and stop trying to ignore it and sugarcoat things. And we can all hope and wish things are going to be normal, but they're not. We could sit here and say, well, Suicide Squad deserves a $200 million opening weekend. And I think it does, sure. But that's not realistic right now. I don't even think it's realistic to believe that Batman is going to hit 100 million next year. We have to adjust these expectations. Even Shang-Chi, which is out in 3 weeks, yes, it's a Marvel film. It doesn't have Captain America. It doesn't have Iron Man, Thor, Black Widow, nobody. It has the Abomination. That has people excited in the trailers. Oh, Abomination's in it. I got to see it. So these guys who are looking at the box office, they just got to reel in these expectations and realize, yeah, you can do the negative things for clicks. It works every day, all day. We've all clicked negative articles before. You want to see what they say about it. But if you do some positive things too and mix that in, you'll get some fans. And I think overall it's better for the I was going to say the environment, but the nerd environment, if you will. I think it's just better because then we all have the same expectations and we don't cry foul every time a movie now will make 30 million instead of even 50 million, because Suicide Squad just came up a little short on the expectation. We're talking 27 million to 35. It's a little bit short.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. My opinion on this is there's an entire industry that's hinging on the opinions of these people.
Mm-hmm.
And they're desperate to kind of for things to go back to normal, because if things don't go back to normal, they don't have jobs. So they're kind of reporting on things as if things are completely back to normal because theaters are open and stuff. But we're in another phase of this pandemic now, and you have to judge things a little bit differently. And so I think that there's been a lot of that. I also think that there are some Marvel fanboys and some Snyder fanboys amongst these, and girls amongst these people who analyze box office, and they're making judgments based on that. So I think that the Suicide Squad is getting a bad rep. I think that there is definitely a future for both Harley Quinn, as played by Margot Robbie, and James Gunn and his style of filmmaking. But I want to do one last round to everybody on this thing. Do we think that the Suicide Squad has a BO problem? Eric?
No.
Zeddy?
No.
Nico?
No.
JJ?
No.
And Chris?
No.
No, it doesn't. Stop
Huzzah!
being over the top and all that sort of stuff. The Suicide Squad is as a franchise is going to be just fine. Warner Brothers is really happy with it, and they've already put out a Hollywood Reporter, fake, basically PR piece talking about how it's fine. So everybody just needs to relax about it. All right, we're off to the main event. The Titans season 3 premiere, the first 3 episodes of the critically question marked series, the fan question marked series, the series that has made some funny choices in the past. And, we're off to a pretty strong start, I think, so far in the season. But I'm really excited to hear what all of these guys think. So let's just kick it right off. I'm going to start with Chris Evans this time. Chris, what did we think of the first 3 episodes of Titans?
The first 2 for me were mixed. There's things I liked about them, things I really didn't like. I'm not a fan of Ian Glenn's Bruce. I've tried. It does not work for me. But I loved Barbara. I thought Barbara was fantastic in all 3 episodes. Tim was great in the episode we see him in. And the 3rd episode, that is some excellent DC television. I was really impressed by the 3rd one. I don't know if we're going full spoilers yet, but that's just my quick overview.
Full spoilers. If you haven't watched the first 3 episodes, go watch them. We're going to be talking about everything.
They broke my heart at the end of episode 3 then. I'm still upset about it.
Yeah. Yes. Same here. Eric, did you want to jump in?
Okay. I've liked the show since the beginning. I'm one of the people who, I guess there's been issues with it, of course. It's not a perfect series at all. There might be an over-reliance on the word fuck. I'm sorry if I shouldn't have said that, but there might be an over-reliance on the word in the writing. So, but the first 3 episodes for me, I enjoyed them pretty much for the most part. I thought, that's true. I thought, I like Ian Glenn's Bruce Wayne. I don't even call him Batman because we've never seen they kind of hint towards him still being Batman in the opening episode of this one when Jason's talking to him. But I loved that they didn't waste time. This show has had a problem of building up things and wasting time getting there, and I loved how they didn't do that in this episode. I love how they came out. The very first part of it was the Joker and the crowbar, and they got it kicked off with killing Jason Todd right there. So I love that. And the moments between the characters in this, getting to see what they were like after the end of season 2, we know that they were kind of fractured. People split up. So we got to see what Hawk and Dove were doing. We got to see what the rest of the team was doing, and how Superboy was kind of being acclimated to the team, and development. The character development for a short period of time was excellent in the first 3 episodes. And then, yeah, of course, what Chris said about episode 3, man, wow. It was not expecting that. Was not expecting that. I'll let someone else say what actually happened, but I was not expecting that at all. That's for sure.
JJ, do you want to jump in here? You look like you're chomping at the bit now.
I was using my mouse to pick everybody's nose, by the way. Yeah. No, but
the transparency tonight is off the charts, man.
Hold nothing back.
No, but seriously, I agree with Eric that I've loved the show from the beginning. There's an element of, like, people criticize Batman v Superman. I keep bringing it up, but for Batman's quote unquote murderous side, and they're not wrong. But I think that Titans is worse in that sense, that every character has murdered somebody, and it's put me off a little bit. But the first episode, what did he say? What did that guy say?
I was at the first stage.
Yes, it is. Oh God. Anyway, I love you, Pete. But no, I've lost my train of thought.
I threw off your train of thought, JJ. I'm sorry.
No. The first episode of the season was kind of what I've always wanted to see, which was the Titans working together it was a little bit like Avengers Age of Ultron, like the first, the opening act of the movie. It's like, oh, we get to see them as a team fighting the bad guys and everything. And as soon as Nightwing walked in and he saw that henchman, and he was like, "Hey, big guy," I was like, "Oh, that's Nightwing!" And I got so excited. And this is the most Dick Grayson that Brenton Thwaites has been able to be so far in these 3 episodes. I didn't mind his character in the other 2 seasons, but this season just is not, more so than the other seasons. It's swinging for the fences, and I attribute that to the bigger budget with HBO Max. You could see that right away, like literally in the first few minutes. But I still think we're missing something when we don't get to see the Joker. We don't get to see Connor with Superman, which I think was missing from season 2. We don't get to see Batman. We just see Bruce Wayne. Mm-hmm. And so I was a little weirded out when it's just like, oh, I killed the Joker. By the way, I'm leaving. It's just like, what? This is weird. Like, why are we doing this? But all in all, the characters that we've been with, the characters that we love, have fallen in love with for the past few seasons, especially Alan Richardson, who's just, from Smallville to the Ninja Turtles movies. Say what you will about those movies, the Turtles were perfect in those movies. To now this, I'm just like, this guy, he's won me over, and to have him, be, killed.
What?
Oh, Eric, you silly goose. But I texted Josh earlier today. I was watching it today, and I was like, I'm crying that we lost him. And what made it even better was that Crypto comes out of there, and I was just like, oh my God, his dog stayed with him the whole time. It was so beautiful. And Superboy got there too late, which I
wasn't
think
looking.
Yeah, every superhero needs to have that moment where they get there too late, And I'm rambling on and on. Everybody's laughing all the comments, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, man.
Zeddy, what did you think of it, my friend? What did you think of these first 3 episodes of Titans? You got your Titans shirt on. I think we just need to. Yep, there it is. Mm-hmm. That's season 2, right?
Season 2
poster.
Yeah, there's like Deathstroke sign all the way on the bottom. I don't know if anybody. It's kind of hard to tell, but yeah. Yep. Yeah, I mean, Titans was like, our staple over at Vigilante in 1939. We called it as it was sort of like our big break. So, I always have had a soft spot for the show. I think the cast is perfect. Everybody is really likable to me. They've been the least of the problems, I think, in the show. But I mean, I really dug season 3, what we've seen so far. I think the episodes got better as, the first 3 that we got. Episode 1, like JJ said, kind of gave you the Titans show that I think everybody was clamoring for in the beginning. The stuff in Gotham, I think, is really cool. The way that, they really make it into this atmospheric, just horrible place that, Gotham is. Like, it eats you up the longer you stay there. It's why Bruce is the way it is. It's probably why Dick became the way he is. So it's definitely a very realistic show. I mean, it's a show that I've had to really adjust my expectations kind of as it went on. I compare it. It's a very like BVS world. It's like you have to go into the show and not expecting that, Dick Grayson becomes Nightwing like he would in the animated series. That's not that. Barbara Gordon is not from the animated series. Bruce Wayne is not the animated series. So I think if you can go in with a more realistic approach that, it's like if either of us were those people, we would act that way. I think we would, like Bruce Wayne as a 40-year-old, 50-year-old would totally act that way. He would totally grieve that way. I think so. But to answer your question, yeah, I think by episode 3, I think if you weren't hooked, it show's probably not for you, and that's still okay. But it was like Nico said in our show, that was perfect television. I think, by the end of episode 3, they give you with that very gruesome death, a fan favorite character. It's the way to hook you kind of later on. Red Hood, man, he was a bad mofo in the beginning, but man, this guy is bad. No redeeming him. Sorry.
Actually, wait. Let me add something to what you said, Zeddy, if I could, real quick.
Sure.
I think this Dick Grayson as Nightwing is the closest we've been to the animated series because he was very dark. He was a lot like Batman. It was the episode "Old Wounds" that I know you and I is one of our favorites, where he, Tim Drake straight up says like, "You sound just like Batman," and I think that's really cool. I'm realizing it as I'm saying it now, but yeah. I just wanted to add that real quick. Sorry.
No, you're totally right.
Yeah. So, hey, by the way, I just wanted to note this really quick before I move on to Nico, who always looks like Nico. You always look like you desperately want to say something. Always.
I mean, look at his hat; it keeps changing.
I'm Ash Ketchum. Each time I talk, I have to turn it around.
Yeah.
I catch them all.
I do have to say that Alan Ritchson in this series, and particularly in episode 3, gave one of the very best performances I've ever seen on these shows. And that is saying something because he was crappy Aquaman in Smallville. I don't know if you guys remember, but you probably don't because it's like his performance was so unmemorable in that show.
No. Okay, but keep going.
Watch it, Josh.
But he's shown tremendous growth as an actor to the point where I think he was one of the best parts of the show. Correct. in Titans. And he's most like his comic book counterpart on the show amongst the groups of people. So for me, that ending I kind of picked up. I mean, I kind of foresaw the death coming. I was like, this is so neatly tied up. There's no way that they're gonna let him live. Like it's just, it would be so perfect if that's how this ended, So I kind of assumed that he was gonna die, but by the end of it, I didn't want him to. I wanted Connor to run in there, and I wanted him to be saved. But I just wanted to say that as an aside because I've got other things that I want to talk about, but later on. But Nico, if you want to talk about what you think of the show, if you have anything to add to that, go right on ahead. Tell us what you think.
Yeah, so I actually
flip your hat around first.
No, it stays this way. I'm Ash Ketchum right now. I actually thought there was going to be a more gruesome twist than there was. I thought that they were going to save Hank and he was going to shoot Dove instead in front of Dick. And I thought that's how he was going to hurt Hank, was kill Dove instead. I thought that's where they were going. But what ended up happening was just as wonderfully terrible. So episode 1 I want to talk about later, but episode 1, the first time I watched it, I was pretty like meh on, for the obvious reasons. I'm someone who defended the Ian Glenn thing, and then when it happened again, I was like, okay, I like him, but I don't like this way. It took on a rewatch when I did a 180 on it, and I'll explain why later. Episode 2 got way better. I love the Red Hood stuff. I love seeing them fight as a team. Love the Dick and Gordon interaction. But episode 3 is the one I just got to keep talking about. It was what a great episode of television. Like that's when I saw the most maturity in this show. When they built the emotional stakes, the stakes of the threat, the fear, the adrenaline, and then they nail you with a really tough death of a fan favorite. Josh, I agree. He's one of the best actors and the best characters on the show. I used to get annoyed when people would, crap on him and Dove, because they were the most human characters on the show. They were the most real one. And whenever they were front and center, their relationship was compelling. And Josh, you're right. His acting in the scene in the kitchen with Dick, when he tells him, we're going to be the ones to stop him, so effing chin up. And then the whole time when he's talking to Gar in the bed, when he's on the phone with Dick, and then when he starts singing at the end and he blows to bits, and then they beautifully film the team just breaking down after. I'm like, man, they, like Pete said earlier, they were ballsy. They swung for the fences early on, which is what the best shows do, is they don't, like, I think Eric said it, they've always tried to build up stuff. They took too long. And in this season, they said, yeah, let's kill a main cast member in the 3rd episode. I think the writing's more focused. I think there's one direction they're trying to go, and instead of the subplots being so out there, they're still close enough to the main plot and the main action that it's all relevant. And I definitely think the show has improved. It looks better. It feels better. I feel like the first episode, everyone's acting was a little stiff, but I think it was that one we know for a fact was in COVID protocol. So I wonder if they were even in the same places as each other. It's very amazing how they can make it look like and not have it that way at all. And for new characters, like to work with the new cast members, they usually get time before to build chemistry. They probably didn't. They probably just threw them on screen and said, act. But on a rewatch, it wasn't as jarring. I don't know if we're going to get into the specific Bruce stuff. Can I kick that off on like what I feel about it, or did you
Absolutely. That's actually the first. Well,
Okay.
let me do this. Let me
Sure,
give you my overall
Yeah.
general thoughts, and then we can talk about
Cool,
Bruce.
cool.
Because I do want to talk about that, because I have a take on that. So overall, I think that these are very well written episodes. I think that the first 3 episodes are. I actually think that the first episode's really well written as well. I know that some of you didn't like it, but I actually quite enjoyed it. And I'll go into a bit more of that with when we talk about Ian Glenn's Bruce, who per se isn't my cup of tea, but what they did with the character, I think that they were trying to do something. I think that, because initially I was rubbed the wrong way by it, but I think that they were trying to do something, and I think that I figured out what it is. Did it land? Obviously it didn't, because some people don't like it, but I personally like it now that I've had this thought. I agree. I love seeing the team together. Brenton Thwaites is the GOAT as Dick Grayson. That man, the only person that I know that is more Dick Grayson-like than Brenton Thwaites is Nico Caruso.
Ah, man. I knew you were going there. You're too kind, brother. I love you.
There's just something. Brenton has unlocked the key to this character. I'm very disappointed because when he originally auditioned for Titans, he thought he was auditioning for the cinematic version of Dick Grayson, and found out later that it wasn't. But he took the role anyway because he wanted to do it. So I think that he would have been a fantastic big screen Dick Grayson. But we do get to see him for a more prolonged amount of time on the show, and he's fantastic. Yes. Nico's.
I'm so, Pete, that's not true, but thank you so much. I don't really have an ass. It's more of a continuation of my back or the beginning of my hamstring. I don't know.
We're gonna need proof. You're gonna have to stand up.
But Josh,
No, we don't need proof.
I'm not giving proof. I need a lot more of this. Josh, a huge compliment again. You keep saying that. I don't feel that way, but thank you so much. If I was, I would. Where's my Corey? Where's my Babs? If I'm Dick Grayson, I need some of those. I need some of that supporting cast. Pete, I don't have a fatty. No. My take on Bruce is so Josh, I'm with you. I really did a 180 on it because I went back to why I like the show so much. And what I like about the show is it's the most realistic superhero, I think, content we have in live action. I know, there's people with power. Sure. What I mean by realistic is like the time consequence. And I think what they're trying to do with Bruce and Batman is actually be the ones who are like in that minority of like, Batman's kind of messed up if you really think about it. Batman's kind of weird if you think about it. So let's go at like that group of people. I think they're like, let's do the deconstruction of Batman worse than Snyder did. Like, let's really rev the engine up. Because if you think about it, this show has shown you there are time consequences. Characters age. When they get hurt, they stay that way. Mm-hmm. The whole Justice League probably isn't together. You know, you got Jim Gordon's dead. Like, there is wear and tear on these characters. And if we're looking at as much continuity and as much lore as they try to pack into the show, it really tries to show you the DC history has occurred. This Batman got his back broken by Bane, probably. This Batman has watched now Jason die, watched Gordon get shot, watched Jim Gordon die, watched Alfred die, probably watched the Joker kill tens of thousands of people over and over and over. And just like, you know, old war soldiers who come back from war and they have the PTSD, but they're cold, they're angry at everything. All they know is war. The show's trying to say all Batman knows is this Gotham thing. And he buries the hatchet with Dick, but it's Babs who breaks him when she's like, no, I'm not going to give you what he gave you. Like, it's messed up. And then you see right away he's going to get, is it kind of weird that Batman wouldn't recruit a 25 to 30-year-old person to fight with him? He's doing it 12, 15, 14-year-old kids. Sure, he's helping the foster ones, but putting them in a line of where you can die. And I think Jason dying actually really hurt him. And I think we're going to see it later because he was very broken down. And like, he has Dick to come back. I thought that was great acting by Ian Glenn. He's like, do you want to be Robin again? And it's kind of like when Hank brilliantly carries on that idea, and he's like, yeah, it's like your dad asking you to come back home when you're in college, sleep in your bed, be a kid again. It's weird. I think this is a world where it's a Batman that in the comics he's always so fine, you know what I mean? He's always got the answer. He's always coming out on top. What if all that trauma was realistic and actually has hit him to a point where he's kind of lost it? I think that's kind of cool. And I think the show is building to, not that they're bringing Batman down, but where I think the show's building to is what they do allude to in the comics at times, that Dick is the ideal version. And I think the show is showing you, yeah, here's the ideal version of what the Batman character. I think it's going to end where he becomes Batman. They've alluded to that 4 times in 2 seasons, be a better Batman. I quite literally, you might not see him in the cowl, and he might not actually wear it, but when the show ends, he will be the Batman. He will be the leader of the superheroes. He will be the ideal version of what heroism is in this broken world. So I didn't like it, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wow, it's kind of brilliant. I don't know. It's me.
Yeah. No, I initially had the same sort of reaction. I was like, man, what are they doing to Bruce? Like, this is so weird. Like, Bruce would never do something like this. It's very strange. But a couple of things that I noticed is when we watch a story like this, normally we're watching it from Bruce's point of view, right? So we're watching the story from the point of view of Bruce Wayne, and we're seeing the ins and outs we're seeing the complete story. In this episode, what I thought was so brilliant is that we're seeing the story from Dick Grayson and to an extent Barbara Gordon's perspective. So it's showing kind of the way that Dick and Barbara might perceive Bruce, even if everything that's going on isn't really what's happening. Bruce says, I took care of the Joker, and throws a crowbar on the ground. He never said, I killed the Joker. So, I mean, he did. I mean, it looks like he did, but who knows? There might be more to the story. We just don't know yet. So, and also too, the other thing, and I know this has been mentioned, is that this is a different version of these characters. And so there's room to do things that you've never done before. I overall like Ian Glenn's Bruce Wayne. I think that he's playing him. The character serves a different purpose. And by the way, in the comics, we're going to be seeing that more and more because Tom Taylor released an image of Nightwing and Batman and said, this is a cover image of Nightwing and a sidekick Batman. And there's another comic starring Dick Grayson as Robin called Robin and Batman that's told from Robin's perspective. So this is going to be a perspective that we even see coming up in the comics, which I think is kind of cool and different. And, you know, thing. And then the other thing too, I like what you said, Nico, about timelines. These characters would get older in real life. There would be variations. Alfred wouldn't be alive probably for everybody. So those are all really, really good points. And again, this is a different version of these characters. I think there's some room to do it a little bit differently than's been done in the comics. Oh, and one thing I wanted to mention, Dick Grayson as the Ultimate Batman has been done in the comics. There was he was Batman before this, but in the mid 2000s, early 2010s, Grant Morrison's fantastic run on Batman, Dick Grayson as Batman. By time it was over, by time Bruce fully stepped back into the role and was the only Batman, fans were actually pretty upset. They grew to love Dick Grayson Batman. So I don't know if you all remember that, but the Black Mirror was fantastic story, chef's kiss. And the best thing about it is that Scott Snyder understood. He was the only other writer, I think, other than Grant Morrison, to understand that Dick Grayson Batman is different than Bruce Wayne Batman. And so you've got to write the character. The motivations are different for the characters. You got to write them a little bit differently. You got to write the villains a little bit differently. The things that motivate Dick Grayson are different than the things that motivate Bruce Wayne. And I thought that Scott Snyder did a really great job with that. Does anybody else want to jump in on Ian Glenn's Bruce Wayne? Does anybody have any thoughts?
He's a handsome devil.
I kind of think in a way, if you look at Ian Glenn's Bruce Wayne, and Nico made some excellent points, right? I hadn't thought a lot of that. But if you think about it in that kind of way, that he is an older Bruce who's seen some shit, basically. He's been through some things. He kind of reminds me of if Michael Keaton's Batman were allowed to age, take that Bruce Wayne, who's also pretty aloof and strange, and just age him up. I think you get Ian Glenn's Bruce. That's kind of something that came in my head while Nico was talking about it.
Well, yeah, like the actor, Glenn is 60 years old, right? So you already have that. Just looking at him, he's been through some stuff, right? As you say. So he saw his parents murdered, and then he's been through everything else, and everyone close to him, something bad happens, like Barbara got shot and all this other stuff that happened to him while he was either bringing people in to help him. At some point, you just get numb to it. So like that first scene between Dick and him in the Batcave, where he's just kind of like, life goes on, very morose, very like no feeling. He didn't show any emotion. He was just kind of going through the motions. It fits this story. Like it fits the story they're trying to tell. So that's why when I say I like his portrayal of the character, I've liked it from the beginning because I just think it fits the story they're trying to tell in this show.
Yeah,
I totally disagree with everybody. I think.
Well, Josh, you can't disagree. This isn't Twitter. This is a live stream.
No, but like the only time I liked Ian Glenn's Bruce Wayne was in season 2 when it was in Dick Grayson's head. Because how do we see our parental figures as sometimes not supportive, sometimes not helping? And it just, I liked that idea, and especially when he was doing the Bat 2C and all that. I thought that was fun. But like, every other time I just felt like I feel like I'm watching Ian Glenn try to be Adam West, and that doesn't fit this version of Bruce Wayne. So I get what y'all are saying. I don't disagree with most of what you're saying, but I just think he's terribly miscast. Like, I would much prefer a I don't know how to put it, like almost like if John Hamm were 20 years older. That version of Bruce Wayne. It's just somebody who's, I don't know, like, and again, I didn't mind him being a little weird or whatever, but right off the bat, pun intended, I'm just so like, no, man, like when right off, the first scene when Jason calls him and says, "Oh, I found the Joker," and he's like, "All right, stand down." I expected him to be like old chum or something. It's like, dude, come on, like, you're getting paid, right? You're an actor, right? Like, I when I act in a show, I get paid nothing, and I put more into it than this. Like, I don't know. But that's just my take. I think, as far as live action Bruce Waynes go, he's last on my list. But I respect all your opinions. But you're wrong.
JJ, I think on that point of the 60s, 66 Batman of Adam West, I think that's on purpose. I think they're going for that on purpose. They're trying to take the super dark Titans world and give us like a Adam West-esque Bruce Wayne, which is kind of like, you wouldn't put those two things together, but that's, I don't know. That's just, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. It's just like when they were talking about, like, when they're kind of giving, their the round table of like all of them laughing about their memories of Jason, and he was like, "Oh, Jason was cursing out the Mad Hatter, and what did you say, Bruce, when you came in?" And he was like, "Oh, watch your language, son." I was like, "No, I don't think Michael Keaton would say that. I don't think any of the other Batman would say that, especially like Zack Snyder Justice League Batman." But I feel like he would just be like, "All right, that's enough." Like, it seems strange to me. It was like, but again, if that's what they're going for, with what you say, Josh, thanks, Eric. But then yeah, maybe. But that's just my take on the character.
JJ, you're not getting a lot of love from the comments, man. Gotta
Dude,
say.
You haven't seen me on the always hold on to Smallville Patreons. I never get love on those either.
Zeddy, did you have anything on Ian Glenn's Bruce Wayne? Any thoughts?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think somebody brought up the point where, it's really told through like a Robin's point of view, like a Robin's perspective. Like, I think the show in season 1 was very much told through kind of Dick Grayson's perspective. And then I think, when Jason Todd got introduced, now I think the show is really told through more Jason's Todd perspective. But, I totally, dug the, I guess, progression of, how Dick saw Bruce initially, as like a maternal father figure. Did he ruin his life? We found out that no, he didn't. It was just a stage in which Dick Grayson was going through. I thought that was kind of brilliant. But there's an interesting question that I actually want to ask the panel, and maybe I'm off base, maybe I'm not, if that's cool with you, Josh. Because I think this is twice now, where I wonder if it's just a deconstruction of Bruce Wayne Batman that we don't like, because we obviously did not like it in BVS.
Well, speak for yourself.
I did love it in BVS.
You said we didn't like it. Speak for yourself, brother.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Fandom.
Fandom clearly didn't, react to it. The Dark Knight, I would say we kind of gave it a pass if you really want to call a deconstruction of Bruce Wayne. But it's it's really fascinating to me, because then we get, this new take and he's really deconstructed. So I'm wondering if we give it a pass in comics, but we don't like it on the big screen. I don't know if I'm off base with that. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Well, I already said I liked it, so it's not something that if it's done right and done well, then I'll buy anything. I'm one of those people who just give me the story frame. I know the characters now. Tell me the story. If it fits the story, then I'm in. I'm always in if it's something. And although I don't like BVS as a whole, I love the Batman stuff. I love all the Batman stuff in the movie. So from my perspective, it doesn't bother me. If this is Titans has always been kind of a darker show anyway from the beginning. So, I mean, the fact that they're going this route in a different medium with Bruce Wayne, I have no problem with it. Let's see how it ends up.
Zeddy, Zeddy, I think you're right to an extent. I agree and disagree. I think it comes down to there are certain characters who the fandom is less cool with being adapted or less cool with being changed. For me, and I really think it comes down to how you fan, and it's not really hypocrisy, just more of how you fan. I don't mind what they do with this guy, but I do mind what they do with Spider-Man. So that's just me as a fan. So I love these different versions. I love a deconstructed Bruce Wayne. Eric, don't you shake your head. I see you. I'll always see you, Eric. So I like putting Batman in a different place. I don't like putting Spider-Man in a different place at all. But that's just me and how I fan. But I do think there are people who they saw, and that no one on this panel, but I think there were people who saw when he comes back with the crowbar, and that was a deal breaker for them.
I agree.
Thing on the show ever. Going back to the people who think when he implanted this in the film, they were done with it there. I think it just is what you're willing to, the amount of rope you're willing to give your favorite character. But yeah, I like
this. This might be a discussion for another day, but I actually think
I'm waiting for that one, Josh.
No. And I might get my Batman fan card revoked. I think it's deeply unrealistic that Batman would never kill anyone in real life. And
hand it over.
And I think that is why Nolan actually got it exactly right. Because I don't think Batman would intentionally kill anybody. But I think that there would be people who would die as a result of him being Batman. So, yes, Keaton did kill many, Mr. C. That is true. I'm assuming that's Mr. C and not Nico. It is true. Keaton did kill many people, and Keaton is my favorite Batman. So, the other thing, too, about... this is the other thing, too. We got this comment.
Do it, please, JJ. Do it, please.
JJ. This is my request.
Right.
This is my favorite. Do an impression of Jack Nicholson doing an impression of Jack Palance. That would make my day. That line from Batman '89. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
We'll give you time to prepare. We will give you time.
Okay. All right. The Lucky Deck line. Is that what you're talking about?
You're
my number one guy.
You are my that one.
Okay, I can do that. Well, I have a TikTok now, and I've done an impression that apparently is making the rounds, which I was very surprised by. I did a Heath Ledger and a Nicholson impression, and the Nicholson impression is more popular than the Heath Ledger impression. So either way, but yes,
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Oh, you have to start from and Bob.
Yep. I know the movie, man. Throwing me off my game here. All right. Ian Glenn is the worst Bruce Wayne. Okay, and scene. Okay, here we go. And Bob, remember, you are my number one guy.
That was awesome. That was seriously awesome. This is a great question from Pete.
I'll fund it. I'm subscribing.
If that was it, then that's what I would do.
Zeddy's
Nobody-
is coming
Hey,
in a week.
Nobody wants to see
Zeddy's
this.
is coming in a week.
Hey, they're trying to rebrand, so they may take you. They're trying to be more mainstream, not adult entertainment.
I'll stick to TikTok.
Yeah, stick to TikTok. Yeah, so the next thing that I would like to talk about, sorry, that was a clunky transition. Savannah Welch's Barbara Gordon. I like this take on the character. I think it's really cool that they Savannah Welch, for those people who don't know, is a country music singer and actress who got into a bad car accident a few years ago and lost one of her legs. And so she is a actress in a wheelchair. And she doesn't ride in, but she's a disabled actress in real life. And they incorporated her lost leg into the story, which I wasn't expecting, but I thought was really cool to incorporate that in. Also, she did a phenomenal job as Barbara Gordon. She felt like Barbara Gordon. Does everyone else agree?
Yes.
I do.
Mostly, yes.
Mostly, yeah.
Mostly.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me where she didn't feel like Barbara Gordon in your guys' eyes.
Well, it wasn't so much that, and the guys are gonna get me for this because
I'm with you. Say it. I'm with you. Say it.
No, Nico, go ahead.
Anything yet?
Go ahead.
No, because I know what he's gonna say.
No, you
I
might
want him
not.
to say it. I want him to say it.
I think she overacted a little bit.
There you go.
That's just from my perspective. I think she was a little bit too much. But I think the way they wrote her, it was very true to the character. Like I think the writing fits. I just didn't love her performance, especially the scene with her, Dick, and Bruce. It just felt a little too much. Like she was trying too hard. That scene especially.
I think so. I love the casting. I love the actress. I love her. I love the writing around her. I love the portrayal. It to me, it was just in the first episode when I said earlier, I alluded to some of the performances felt stiff. I think hers was a little, it didn't feel as natural in that first episode. It was at times, I think it was underdone the first time they meet, and then it's overdone when she's yelling at Bruce. And then the first scene in the police station, I feel like it was undercooked again, but I think by episode 3, she gets the chemistry. I think this was an example of someone new coming in, and I don't think there was time before to get that chemistry down because her acting feels more natural as it goes on. I think this is a weird year for content where I think some of these more of these growing pains, more of these adjustments into a role, you're going to start seeing on screen a little bit. Because even Jeffrey Wright, when he did a great interview last week, and he was answering some questions about the Batman, one with Jake Hamilton, one with Brandon Davis, I think, if I have those wrong. But he did 2 great interviews, and he said it was hard to film scenes. There was certain spacing, and it was awkward. And he's like, so it was really hard to be an actor. I wonder if, a lot of these cast members are on their 3rd time. This was her 1st time, and she's playing one of the biggest characters in DC lore. So I definitely think maybe that first couple episodes she was getting her feet wet, because by the end of episode 3, I think her acting then comes on par with everything else. But that's just me. I agree with Eric, which doesn't always happen. So we should celebrate that I agree with Eric Holzman on something.
It's been happening more often lately, though.
Which I love. I mean,
Yeah.
I just hope it keeps going forever.
Do we think that Barbara and Dick have good chemistry?
It gets there.
Yeah, the same thing we were saying. Like I think, like I said, the early stuff, I was like, wow, this is rough. But then as the show went along, and Nico's probably right, they probably didn't have time to work together. And then when they finally did a few times and got to actually rehearse and stuff, they probably got better at it. And you know, if you've ever acted in anything, it's a big part of the, you know,
Sure.
beforehand. It's a big part of getting together with somebody and running lines and doing that. It's a big part of it.
Only in a school play when I was a little kid. I was Linus and You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
That's outstanding. I love that.
I want video. Is there video?
There is no
I-
video, thank God. Thank God. Yeah.
I didn't buy them as a former couple, which I think they did allude to
Yeah.
on the show, but I did buy them as former partners / friends. So like the idea they were romantic together at some point, I didn't believe. But everything else, and also I feel like Barbara Gordon would, no matter what, would always give Dick Grayson the benefit of the doubt. So I didn't like that she was like, oh, I don't like the Titans, and the Titans are here, and I hope Dick gets out of the city, and blah blah blah. I didn't like that. To me, that didn't ring true to Barbara Gordon, and maybe it's because I've been reading Tom Taylor's Nightwing, which is one of the best comics literally ever. And it just didn't fly with me. I was like, no, I did like their scene with Bruce because, oh, you know, he was killed by a man in a refrigerator suit. Oh, Mr. Freeze, I know his name. And that whole scene was like so uncomfortable and so like, oh my God, this family drama is coming out in front of us. I loved that. That was great. But her not being on Dick's side, no matter what, didn't strike me. It just seemed off to me.
I actually like that.
Okay.
I actually like it because, like we've said, this is a different version of these characters. They're all like alternate versions. So
Your mom's a different version of these characters.
Okay. I'm done.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that was it.
The best part of that, no, hold on. The best part of that, I have to watch this tomorrow. The best part of that was usually like when people did disagree, they let them, but you just hear JJ go, okay. If only people could do that on Twitter, right?
That'd be
I
great.
hate the Snyder Cut. Okay. It's just okay.
No, my response would always be, "Your mom hates the Snyder Cut."
It's just the timing was perfect. Chris, keep going. Ooh.
Jesus.
Yes, please, Chris. I'm serious. Yeah.
I forgot what I was saying. They're just alternate versions.
Josh, you're losing control.
I know. You said there were alternate versions of these characters.
I think that's cool, and I really did like the family scene where they're talking, and she goes off on Bruce. I still can't get when she goes off on Bruce. I thought that was great, and I like that they're kind of antagonistic toward each other, and now Dick is a little more standoff with her. I like that. I think it's cool. I'm done.
Yes, that is very cool. I personally thought that there's, you know, I think like you said, Chris, these are alternate versions of the characters that have a history together, you know? And I actually agree with, to me, honestly, the person that Dick has had the most romantic chemistry with is Dawn.
Well,
The most natural romantic chemistry.
I mean, let's be honest. Like, come on.
Minka Kelly. Yeah.
Yeah, like any one of us could have chemistry with Minka Kelly, I think.
Oh my God! If only.
But
so, let's just, you know. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But we're going to apparently there's today on Twitter someone was like, I love the tweet. There's fans of the Dick and Corey relationship are going to be really excited about a secret storyline they have coming up later on in the season. It's like, thanks a lot for spoiling it for us, Twitter person. But yeah, I actually agree. I did get a little bit of like romantic chemistry between them, but it was more like they had a bad breakup, you know, and there's trust that was kind of crushed there. and it's being rebuilt, or at least on Dick's end, it is. On Barbara's, not as trusting. So that was kind of my take. I liked Savannah Welch in this role. Every time she would come on, I do think she didn't start as strong as she ended. But by the time she got to episode 3, but I did like the she had sort of a good rhythm as Barbara Gordon. And don't forget, she's Commissioner Barbara Gordon, sort of like Batman Beyond is where we first saw that. So
Take it away, Zeddy.
No, I mean, hey, Savannah Welch. I mean, welcome to the show. I mean, I agree with all you guys. I mean, kind of like I said on my show, tackling the role of Barbara Gordon Batgirl, while she may not have as many live action appearances, still is no tall task. Yes, thank you. 2024. It's no tall task, I would assume. I mean, the only third live action appearance, she's such a legendary character in DC Comics. So, like Nico said, to come into a role like that without any probably chemistry test or anything like that, I applaud her for at least trying. I think she has grown. And the 3 episodes that we've seen, Oracle is such a fascinating character. She literally becomes Oracle because she literally wants the Joker to know that, you don't own me. I'm going to create something of myself. You did not break me. So I think in terms of, I guess, the world that we're in, it's believable to me that she still might feel broken. Even like the passing of her father, might still break her even more. So I do kind of believe it in that sense. But I also do agree with you guys. It maybe not be what the progression that we want right now. But we're only 3 episodes in. I don't think she's going anywhere anytime soon. So hopefully she grows in this role, and hopefully all of our hesitancies, I think, are kind of raised a little bit. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that I think she's got like I think some of you guys have said, the start wasn't as strong as by the time she got to episode 3, but I think she's got a bright future on the show. I was actually quite surprised how much anticipation there was for the character. I mean, I shouldn't have been, because like you guys said, she's so legendary, but there was a lot of discourse about Savannah Welch's Barbara Gordon. I want to talk a little bit about timeline, and I want to throw something out there and see what you guys think. This show, one of the things that you guys talked about was the pacing of the show, how everything in the first 2 seasons seemed to drag out so long and everything like that. And this season, they get right into it. And Jason is killed by the Joker, and all of that. And they get right into the Red Hood storyline, which we're going to talk about next. But I think that this show suffers from every season. How did that go? It went good. This went bad. This could have been better. What are we going to do next season? I think we should do this. Rather than planning for, I think there could have been in season 2, this is a coulda, shoulda, woulda. I think for the purposes of this show, it would have been more impactful if Jason Todd was killed by Deathstroke at the end of season 2, and season 3 picks up like 2 or 3 years later, and then Red Hood comes back. I think that would have felt a lot better. In this season, it seems like Jason is killed, he's dead for like 3 days, and then he's back as Red Hood. It's like, an evil version of Jesus in the DC universe. So, I don't know what you guys think. What did you guys think of the timeline? Do you guys think it was Jason's hasn't been dead long enough, or what do you think?
Who wants to take that?
There was a funny. So there's a Twitter account called Less Cinephiles, and they make dumb tweets on purpose. And there was a funny one with Jeff Johns. It's a picture of Jeff Johns, and it says, Jeff Johns in season 3 of Titans is going to try to cram 19 huge story arcs into 3 episodes again. The one thing the show tries to do is that, like I said earlier, it really tries to give you that DC fan lore and the history. But Josh, you're 100% correct. He should have been killed, or the fact that like we're using Scarecrow, he should have been killed by Scarecrow, Deathstroke, or someone to like just do the Joker crowbar thing to say like we did the thing, which made all us like sweaties go crazy, like they did the thing, and then to have him be like Red Hood like 15 minutes later, it's like whoa. Yeah, but at the same time, I'm a hypocrite because I'm also like, wow, I love that the Joker beat him with a crowbar, and I got the Red Hood 25 minutes later. So it's like I don't know, but you're right. They try to pack a lot of the lore in, and some of it doesn't necessarily feel earned. You know, going back to seasons 1, 2, and 3 up to this point. But I think we forgive him because it's dope. As like to quote John Cena, I let it go if it's dope as F. You know?
And by the way, I do want to just jump in and say this. I know that I said evil Jesus. I'm sorry if I offended anyone. I am a Christian myself. I used to be a pastor on staff at a church. So apologies. That just made me feel weird after I said it. So I want
Don't
to
apologize.
I want to
You're good, man.
apologize.
Come on, man. You're good.
So
We know everyone knew what you meant.
yeah.
Don't worry.
So, anyways, any other thoughts on timeline? Should they have done it in a shorter amount of time? I know in a more pro. Is this one instance where Titans should have taken its time a little bit?
No,
They also didn't recognize Jesus when he came back.
I don't think so for the reason I gave before. This show has done this every season. They've had one arc and it's just slow, a very slow burn. I was fine with it. I'm like, here we go. They killed him. We got Red Hood. Okay. Right then and there, everyone who knows anything about the stories knows exactly where the season's going. Like you don't have to play around anymore. And I think they actually learned from the lessons of the past, because that has always been a complaint about the show, is that, come on, this thing is dragging. What's going on? Now they just gave it to you right away. Bam, bam, let's go. Donna will be back next and like just pop up and like, I'm back, and then we'll just keep going, right? Like we'll just keep going from there. Yes, justice for Donna. I didn't like. Let's not talk about the finales because both of them have sucked. So let's just continue on with season 3. Josh, what else? Where are we going here? Anyone else have timeline? Sorry, it's not my show. Josh, sorry.
Does anybody else want to comment on the timeline?
I agree with Eric that it has been a sticking point with the show where they just drag things out for no apparent reason. But I also am a hypocrite because I eat it up. I enjoyed season 1 and 2. But I do think the Red Hood thing may have been rushed. Not that we needed episodes dedicated to it, but I think if they could have showed more in an episode about them kind of mourning Jason, maybe like a quick montage or something, that would have been cool, you know? Also, I was so excited to see the Joker beat the crap out of him, like really. And I was so disappointed after watching it because it's barely anything. So I feel like we could have just skipped that and said, fanboys, you can't get what you want this time. We're doing our own thing, and it would have been better.
Can I just say something real quick? Sorry. You said Justin might come out, I don't know if he still is, but his big complaint about the Joker was the laugh.
I hated it too, actually.
That was his big complaint about the Joker, was the laugh. So
I don't even remember it. So
it was odd.
It was kind of rushed.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a chuckle more than an actual deep laugh.
JJ, can you do a reenactment of the laugh?
I don't remember the laugh either. I was just thinking of Hook, Justin Hoffman.
Do it.
All right,
Do it. Whatever you're gonna do, do it.
Dustin Hoffman as Hook, aka the Joker.
Beautiful.
Would have been better.
You know what?
That would have been better. Yeah, that would have been better.
Actually, I remember that from Hook. Now that you do that, I remember as a kid being like, "That's really weird. That's a weird laugh."
Like, I thought that we only see him from the back. It's not like we have to freaking compare him to Leto, Heath and Joaquin. But the thing that I liked, even with the laugh, is like, in my opinion, Nicholson's the closest to it, but we haven't really gotten like a totally 100% comic book-y Joker yet. So to see like a really skinny one with the crowbar. I'm like, oh, that's the Joker, even though I don't know what he looks like, if he even had face paint on or anything. But I thought it was cool. But the best, to go back to Chris, I remember, I don't know if you tweeted it or put it in a Slack, but it was so endearing, but also concerning how Chris was so excited to watch Jason Todd get beat to death. I'll find
I put it
and
everywhere.
then I'll tweet it out. He said something like, "And I love you to death, Chris, and I love you for this." He was like, I don't know about you guys, but I can't wait to watch Jason Todd get beat to death with a crowbar.
I did say it. I said it a couple times. I'll say it. I would like to see them do it again, but more vicious. To go back to it.
This version of Jason Todd's been annoying, right? Like, I mean, he's but on purpose, right?
Yeah, like that's what you want, right? That's
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
I was really surprised that that's how the season opened, and they showed it in the trailers that he was going to get murdered by the Joker right away, because it seemed to me that the way season 2 ended, that okay, he's on his way to be Red Hood because he feels betrayed by the Titans.
Yep.
Which I thought would have been a good storyline on its own, but to add that on to, and I feel like every season now, and again, we're only 3 episodes in, so who knows what's going to happen, but every season has been a reinvention of the last season. So it's like, okay, so here's what didn't work in season 1, we're going to improve upon it in season 2. This is how, like, we didn't like this about season 2, so we're going to improve upon it in season 3. If that makes any sense, like so it's like, oh, okay, we didn't like just Jason driving off into the sunset, so we got to say, oh, he went back to Gotham and now he's killed by the Joker. When I feel like he was betrayed enough by the Titans, he could have still become Red Hood. Maybe not this crazy, murderous, evil version of Red Hood, which I do like. I will admit that I do like it, as much as it's against, the Under the Red Hood story that I love to death. I'm still like, I'm digging what they're doing, because it's subverting my expectations, which I think is important to us as comic book fans.
Yeah, 100%.
It's always good to make things fresh.
Yes.
Speaking of, let's just jump into the final topic, Red Hood. What do we think about Curran Walters' version of Red Hood?
Zeddy, you take this one.
I mean, kudos to Curran Walters. I mean, I really think he's been the most compelling character on the show. I think he's really grown as an actor throughout the 3 seasons, and just good for him. I mean, I know this is a character that he's loved, that he's wanted to do. So I think, with the material that he's been given, I think he's knocking it out of the park, regardless of how I feel about the interpretation. Yeah, it is a way different interpretation than I thought they were going for. I mean, they are really going dark with it, so kudos to them. They're really trying to go for it with this one. But yeah, I mean, in terms of, his character, I mean, where they go from point A to point B with him, I don't know. I certainly don't think that he's either a character that sticks around or they find a way to do something with him, because he just killed a member of his team. So, like, any sort of, reconciliation is really out the window now. It's very Hannibal Lecter, 7, whatever you want to call it. I mean, he's not coming back. So from this, like, what they do with him, I hope they stick the landing with it, because I mean, they've really committed to, this interpretation. So I just hope that it's good and it's satisfying. But I mean, I'm very happy for Curran, and hopefully he continues to grow in the role, actually. So.
Yeah, I think for me, from the moment I saw him, I thought it was perfect casting. Like when he first came on the scene as Jason Todd, I really liked the casting, and it's just grown for me from there. He's been one of the guys from the beginning that I really, really enjoyed their interpretation of the character. So, as we all have said, yes, this is a very, very much darker take than what we're used to or what we know. But again, in this show, it works. So. Yeah, I've loved him from the beginning.
One thing about him is I think he's progressed as an actor too. I think the kid's a really good actor. And on top of this, I want to say this is like a different conversation, but we won't spend too much time. I also wonder if Titans is like the most genius written show, but like it gets lost, because something I saw on Twitter that I'm not taking credit for this take, but in season 2 with Rose, he brings her to a theater and says he was a theater kid and he would use acting to get what he wanted. And then at the beginning of episode 3, when he's like crying on the phone with Hank, I thought he like was really torn, but no, he went full method to convince Hank. And I'm like, that is absolutely genius, right?
It was.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't pick up on that whatsoever. And I'm like, wow. But also he nailed that scene on the phone. And then for him to be able to show the range in the episodes of that to like taunting Dawn, like, sorry, babe, gotta kill one or the other. I'm like, wow, this kid's onto something, man. He's really progressed as an actor outside of being, like Pete said, the perfect Jason Todd casting. I hope he gets to do this forever. I mean, there's rumors that he's getting his own show. I actually really hope that's the case because I think he could lead something. I'll be straight up with you guys. I think he could lead a show or a small film by himself as Red Hood. Absolutely. You give him like a Roy. Ooh, thinking of like Red Hood and the Outlaws. Oh, you could bring so many cool characters on that show. Hank would have been good for that show, but R.I.P. He's dead. So, you know.
I feel like this version of Red Hood and the Outlaws would have to be more like the Suicide Squad, though, because, because this version of Red Hood is quite evil.
Oh yeah, no, he's
as we've been all talking about in the show. What did we think of Red Hood's plot against the Titans? What did we think of the sort of depths of depravity that the writers in the show went for on this?
I think it was so comic booky in its philosophical debate, and that really struck me. Where it was like Dick was very much like, if I go into the room, I'm gonna say goodbye to him. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna go find a way to save him. Which, by the way, goes back to that thing we were talking about earlier. Y'all were mentioning, yeah, he's going to be Batman, right? That's what Batman would do. Like, no, if I go in there, I'm saying goodbye. I'm not doing that. And that struck me immediately. And it just, like, Kieran Walters, I think, has been a great Jason Todd. He can be annoying, but it's not in a, God, I hate this character kind of a way. It's in a, he's written that way sort of way, if that makes any sense. Like, I'm sure you're all nodding. You agree with me. All right, good. But, and I think that when he comes back this way, which I do think was rushed, but it's okay. Like Chris said, we're eating it up anyway. When he comes back and he says to Dawn, oops, I gave you the trigger. My jaw was on the floor. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, it was just, it was so Joker, like he's embraced being the Red Hood. And and off topic, 2 things I want to say real quick. Where I was watching this with my best friend and my cousin the other day. So Ronnie from Schitt's Creek is in the first couple episodes. And one of the gangsters, she shows up in this white wig, and I turned to my cousin and I was like, so Moira Rose is one of the gangsters in Gotham? Is that what's happening? But but it was just, so that cracked me up. But the whole time, right? My best friend looks at me and he's like, so that's Jason Todd, right? I was like, no, it's Red Hood. He's like, yeah, but it's Jason Todd, right? I'm like, yeah, man, it's Red Hood. That's the Red Hood. He's like, is it Jason Todd? I was like, it's the Red Hood. Keep watching. And then when, Dick breaks off his mask, he was like, I kept asking you if it was Jason Todd and you wouldn't answer me. And I was like, ask a stupid question. You're going to get a stupid answer. Anyway, that's how my best friend and I are no longer friends. I'm kidding. But seriously, I thought that it was the voice modulator he had was good enough that immediately I knew it was Kieran Walters. I was like, oh, this is somebody else. This isn't Jason Todd from seasons 1 and 2. This is somebody else. So when I said that to him, I was partially messing with him, but in my head, I was also like, it may not be. So I don't want to lie to him if I say, yeah, dude, it's Jason Todd. Like, it may not be. We may all be getting played right now. But yeah, he was amazing.
I actually think that's a really interesting question, JJ. Is this really Jason Todd that we knew from seasons 1 and 2, or is something going on with Jason? That might be a mystery for the season. We'll have to see how it plays out, because it certainly doesn't align with what we've seen so far from him. He's annoying. He hasn't been evil.
Well, we did see him inhale something, right? So
Mhm.
let's see what that play turns out to be.
He'll
But
be
yeah,
David Rose.
it does very much seem like a Anakin Darth Vader switch, right? Like very much now he's just this completely evil person. So it does very much seem like that.
Yeah, in the end, they got me because, like I said, I knew from the start that Jason was gonna, or sorry, that Hank was going to die. Like, as soon as that was set up, I was like, "There's no way they let him live." And then they get Connor doing all the calculations. He gets it. It's like, oh wait, maybe they're gonna save him.
Yeah.
And I was so excited. And then Don pulls the trigger, and it's like that was the trigger for the bomb. And it's such a cruel thing to do to someone. Yeah, I thought that it was
part too. Like that was that was perfect.
Yeah,
The
well
place-
played.
Yeah.
Very
It's going to
amazing.
be that's going to reverberate through the series, Hank's death. And I think it's created a legendary Titans moment. This is Pete's point. I was thinking this the whole time. Where's Flash when you
Wally
need
should
him?
have been there, man.
Right?
Wally should have been there.
I did think of that. Yes.
I was like, we need the Zack Snyder's Justice League scene where Wally runs in, sees Hank blown to bits, and then he comes back together, and then
That would be, oh, dude, that would be incredible.
Yeah.
As the Flash guy here, that would be
Well,
incredible.
maybe they'll do a Flashpoint on the CW as well, and then they'll cross over to this universe and save them, and then we'll go
They did do a Flashpoint on the
I know,
CW.
yes,
It
I
was
know,
it wasn't very good.
No, it wasn't. Maybe they'll do it right this time.
It would have been if it had been the crossover.
Yeah,
That should have been the crossover that year.
That was before they started doing them, right? So
Like the big ones, yes. But if they had done, they could have done 7 episodes of him in Flashpoint, and then done Flashpoint as the big epic crossover with Robert Queen as the Arrow, as they alluded to on Earth 2, and I could go on. I'm done. I'm done. This is a whole other.
Do you guys do you guys have time for just one more quick topic?
Absolutely.
What's there are rumors of Titans spin-offs. What would be your top to end the show? This will be the final topic. What Titans spin-offs would you like to see? And a short explanation why, perhaps. I don't know. Or not. You can just say whatever you want. We'll go around the room. We'll start with Eric.
Oh, good, because I wanted to mention him anyway. I want a Vincent Kartheiser Scarecrow spin-off show because he was great. I love the guy. I used to watch Mad Men. He was Pete Campbell on Mad Men. I love that show. I love him in this role. The way they're portraying him, different. It's awesome, and that's what I want. If I don't know what happens to him in the show in the future, but if he's still around, give me him. Give me that.
Zeddy, what do you think? What would you like to see?
Oh, wow, man. I mean, where's that Nightwing series spin-off movie? But this is such a cliche answer. I want Teen Titans, and I want it led by Tim Drake, not Dick Grayson. And I think you stick Raven in there, throw Beast Boy in there, throw Cyborg in there. I think you just do the class. Superboy, I think, belongs in there too. And Crypto, I think that's a perfect lineup. So I think Teen Titans is the way to go, and I think it's perfect for HBO Max. Make that one for sure like a PG-13 show, and you might even have your Mandalorian hit like Nico always says. So done the right way, I think it could be massive.
What about you, Chris? What Titan spinoffs would you like to see?
I would recast Ian Glenn for a younger Batman, so I'd pick John Hamm and do Batman and Robin. I want to see
Yeah.
the way Dick and Bruce used to get along in detail. And I want them to keep some of the villains we've seen, like I guess the back of the Joker in his socks, this version of the Scarecrow. Let's see these guys and take it back a little bit.
Chris, really quick, who would you cast as Robin? You said John Hamm as Batman. Do you have a Robin in mind for the show?
I kind of think Brennan Thwaites looks young enough where he could pull off like a early 20s, late teens. So I'd just like to keep him if possible.
All right.
JJ, what do you think? What spinoffs would you like to see?
That's tough because I think I would have said Nightwing, but this almost has been the Dick Grayson show for the past 3 years. Two seasons and some change. You know what? I would go with Deathstroke actually, because I think as much as we got him in season 2, I would love to see more. What was his name?
Isai Morales.
Okay, yes, thank you. I'm terrible with names. Thank you. I think he could have led even just a limited series. Like, we're overdue for something Deathstroke.
Mm-hmm.
There has been the animated movie, but like Joe Manganiello or how
Joe Manganiello.
Sure. All right. Thanks with your
Kaizen.
But
Kaizen. I had to.
We need we're overdue for something Deathstroke. And I think he could have led a really cool Deathstroke show.
Nico, round us off.
So I want a Gotham Knights show. I want Nightwing to lead. I want Jason Todd to be redeemed. I want Tim Drake there. I want Oracle to lead them, be the facilitator, and I want it to be the origin of a comics accurate Cassandra Cain as Batgirl, because her story is effing brilliant. So she's the Batgirl, Tim's Robin, Jason's Red Hood, Dick is Nightwing, Oracle leads the pack with the occasional cameo from Ian Glenn's Bruce Wayne, who gives them the seal of approval, and you make the first villain Scarecrow from this show because he's outstanding. That's what I want.
First villain's gonna be your mom.
Nice.
She better be.
Nice. Did we like the cameo? Did we like the little nod to all the different Robins from the comics?
Yes.
Did we like that?
Yes.
That was great, wasn't it?
Wait. Can I ask something? Who was Draxton Chill? Was that the name or whatever the first one was? Who was that? Does anyone? I did not know that.
He's the only one I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know him either.
Draxton Chill's maybe he's related to Joe Chill though.
Yeah,
that would be interesting.
Maybe because the other ones were so Carrie Kelly and Duke Thomas, but
and Stephanie Brown.
And Steph Brown.
Stephanie Brown. You're right. Okay, you're right. So that first one, I was like, that's got to be a Robin, right? And I'm sorry.
Pete, We Are Robin. It's a character from We Are Robin.
Oh, thank you, Pete, for being here and telling us that.
That was that who's the artist that did We Are Robin? Gosh, he's been on Batman on film for years. What's his name?
Garrett Griff.
No, the
Garrett Griff.
He also did Batman Noel.
Lee Bermejo.
Yeah.
Oh, if Ryan Lauer was here, he would not be happy that you don't remember his name.
That was my episode with Lauer. Was Batman?
He loves Lee Bermejo.
That's We Are Robin is by him, right? He did We Are Robin.
I think he did the covers, but I don't know if he did the whole show, the whole thing, I should say,
the whole series. So I would like to see a Connor Leslie Wonder Girl series.
Oh, baby, please, yes.
Because I feel like Diana's sort of world hasn't been fleshed out outside of her movies yet. Yep. And there's so much you could do with that. You could do Cassie. You could do I love Yara Flor, the new Wonder Girl. Is terrific. They could introduce her in the show. And it could be Donna in the world of the Amazons, the Greek gods. Her whole second season being in like the world of how the Amazons are kind of like in the real world. Kind of like it reminded me a little bit of Wakanda in Civil War, how like the Wakandans were the bodyguards, they were kind of in like undercover in the world. I would love to see that kind of series, Donna being a daughter of two worlds, I think is really, really interesting. And also Connor Leslie is fantastic as Donna Troy. Really, really great. Beloved character from the comics, and they did such a great job of casting her. So that's what I would like to see. I would like to see a Wonder Girl spinoff, and I think it would be fantastic. But
wasn't there a Yara show in development and then it got canceled?
CW.
I'm
Yes.
so mad about that.
Yep.
CW said no.
They took it away for Naomi, which is also another
The Ava DuVernay
yes.
Doing-
I think
okay.
because it had Ava DuVernay, they,
probably.
attached to it. That
they
makes
want to
sense.
keep Ava. Here's the thing. They want to keep Ava happy because I do think they eventually want her to do a DC film, but they just didn't want to do the New Gods for reasons beyond what we can talk about on the show.
Stupid reasons.
Yeah,
There's
Where's Pete? Can I get an Uxis in the chat, Pete?
Uxis.
there's
Oopsis!
Can I get an Uxis, Pete?
Xmas. Wait, what?
You said the Chris Bryant home run, which hurts me. There it is. It's coming. Hold on.
It is. It'll be
Coming,
there.
It's coming. It's coming.
That's what
Come
she
on,
said.
baby. Oh, Jesus. Uxis.
There it
Uxis.
Uxis.
Which, by the way, I had no idea that was Darkseid's real name.
Oh, yeah.
Up until Zack Snyder started tweeting photos of him with
Of
Uxis.
Uxis.
I'm like, what is that? And then I looked it up, and it is his real name. And then I had a conversation with Pete about it the other day on DM. So, but anyway, that is all the time we have today. If you have any questions, comments, anything that you want to share with us, please say it in the chat. Let's do a little quick roundabout. Where can people find you, Eric?
As you can see on the bottom, you can find me on Twitter at Finally33. You can find me and Pete Vera's show, Straight Outta Gotham, at straight_O_G. We're on Facebook. We're all over the place. Just find us there and hit us up.
Awesome. Zeddy.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. You guys can find me on Twitter at Zeddius, because much like Batman, I am whatever Twitter needs me to be. I can find the show that I co-host with the Carusos at Vigilante 1939. We just celebrated 100 episodes today. That show is now available to listen wherever you get your podcast. Thank you, guys. All my film and TV reviews are at letsgopodcast.com. That include my #1 movie of this year, Coda, Superman and Lois. And real quick, Chris Evans and I will be doing a live stream on the season of Superman and Lois as a whole this coming Thursday on the Let's Go Podcast YouTube channel under Vigilante 1939. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you, gentlemen.
Speaking of, let's just go to Chris Evans.
Yeah, you guys can follow me on Twitter at thatChris70. Like Zeddy said, please check out the Let's Go podcast to see all my reviews. I mostly do comic stuff, a lot of Batman things, and some Marvel here and there.
Chris Evans, aka Let's Go's ass. We're
me.
gonna move. We're gonna move to JJ. JJ, where can people find you?
You can find me at Nico Caruso, the co-host of Straight OG. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm reading these wrong. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at 4ComicJunkies. Mostly on Twitter because I love to retweet stuff and say some hot takes every now and then. Like, for example, hot take, Michael Keaton, I think you're my real father. Please respond to my DMs. Anyway, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding about all that. But yeah, at 4ComicJunkies, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. My podcast at 4ComicJunkies, which 4 out of 5 of you have been on. Eric is about to be on.
Yes.
So we're very excited about that and looking forward to more of that.
JJ is a phenomenal host. I really enjoyed my time on his show. It was great. Nico, where can people find you?
What's up? You can follow me here at Nico Caruso on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. You can find all my film, TV, and comic reviews over at letsgopodcast.com, including the Suicide Squad, Titans, and Nightwing and The Flash as well. Those come out this week. And I do a Kiss podcast with Rod Myers from Everyone Loves the Drake, our favorite rock band of all time. Kiss, do it with him and my father from the Vigilante 1939. Just want to also shout out, there was so much love from y'all today and from the listeners of our show, our 100th show. So thank you all so much. And we started off in an office on a phone, and we have all these friends because of it. So 100 episodes is the least of my thanks for it. It's this amazing community we got brought into. That was the real treat. So everything else is just the cherry on top. And Josh, you were the man. I had a blast tonight. So happy to be here. This was a lot of fun. Usually Monday is the worst day of the week, but this day ended pretty damn fun with this thing. So Josh, thank you for putting this together, brother.
100%.
Awesome. Yeah, I thank you guys so much for being here. And really quick, this is just an aside. Zeddy, I love your background, man. It is like what I think of when I think of a Chicago basement. You know what I mean? Like, it is like, that is like a Midwest basement with like all your stuff back there. It's like fantastic. It's really, really great.
2021
All right,
World Series champs, baby.
Yeah. If you haven't seen The Suicide Squad or Titans, you can stream them on HBO Max. Highly recommend both. Go check them out. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next time.